That moment occurred. I felt like I didn't fit in. And when we couldn't proceed, I was taken aback. Just like with Draymond, we assumed he and Jordan Poole had resolved their issues. However, fresh video of a confrontation between Draymond and Jordan has emerged, altering the whole narrative. And what this uncovers regarding Steve Kerr's involvement would blow your mind. Allow me to explain. The astonishing discovery. For more than 2 years, we believe we understood the narrative of Draymond Green striking Jordan Poole in that practice on October 5th, 2022. We witnessed the TMZ clip, listened to the apologies, and observed the repercussions develop live. However, the shocking disclosures that have come to light present a starkly contrasting narrative. In this version, the Golden State Warriors head coach, Steve Kerr, masterminded one of the most shocking betrayals in the history of the NBA. The key evidence lies in recently unearthed footage and insider accounts that expose a malevolent scheme of manipulation that spans back more than a year prior to the infamous punch that resonated throughout the league. Let's examine the true events. Steve Kerr, the very coach who experienced a punch from Michael Jordan during his playing career, intentionally orchestrated a situation for his own player to be struck in the face. The freshly uncovered information shows that Kerr urged Jordan Poole to engage with Draymond Green, fully aware of the unpredictable veteran's likely reaction. This went beyond coaching. It was a deliberate maneuver aimed at fulfilling an undisclosed agenda at the expense of his players' welfare. Even at ages 33, 34, or 35, I continue to grasp these lessons. That incident took place. I thought to myself, I'm no fool, we've got to advance. And then when the opportunity arose, I found myself wondering, what's going on? It really struck me that this guy seems to harbor some disdain for me. The fresh details suggest a pattern of coercion and deceit that makes Game of Thrones appear like a tale for toddlers. It actually commenced well before many noticed, with verbal intimidation and clashes tracing back to November 2021. During a timeout against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Green reportedly warned Poole, "I'll beat you down, I'll mess you up." But the plot thickens. Shockingly, Steve Kerr, the same coach who felt Michael Jordan's fist in his playing days, understood the dynamics and chose to act. Following the Warriors' 2022 preseason tour in Japan, where Green chastised Poole for not matching the first unit's performance in scrimmages, Kerr decided to intervene. Instead of calming tensions, he isolated Poole and made what seemed like a deliberate incitement. Defend your stance, act like a leader. Reflect on the deliberate harshness of those phrases. Kerr, who felt the embarrassment of being overpowered by a fellow player, essentially conditioned Poole to elicit the precise reaction that could jeopardize his future with the Warriors. As for the official Draymond incident, he offered an apology and handled it maturely, but we had intentions to manage it ourselves. Our focus is on basketball, and everyone in the locker room, along with our squad, recognizes that achieving a championship requires a great deal of effort. What unfolded next is reminiscent of a tragic tale woven by Shakespeare with a Machiavellian twist. Poole, invigorated by his mentor's support and freshly energized from a robust scrimmage where he had eclipsed the seasoned players, chose to put his gains to the test. In the following practice, as Green resumed his relentless verbal jabs, Poole fired back with a dagger of a remark that changed everything. "You know what it is, Draymond? You're just a pricey backpack for 30. The exactitude of this offense is remarkable. Poole didn't merely label Green as a supporting player. He deliberately invoked Stephen Curry's jersey number, suggesting that Green was merely an ornament alongside the team's genuine star. Giving Green's strong sense of pride and defensive prowess, this was far more than mere banter. It constituted a calculated strike aimed at his most profound doubts regarding his position within the Warriors' pecking order. Green acted quickly and with serious impact. The TMZ video that emerged shortly after captures the peak of months of built-up friction. Green confronted Poole, Poole resisted, and then came the punch that sent shockwaves across the NBA. What makes this disclosure particularly shocking is that Draymond Green has labeled these new allegations as false, using six-cap emojis on his social platforms to dismiss the pricey backpack tale. Nonetheless, various references in the comprehensive timeline indicate that there may be greater accuracy to these narratives than Green is willing to acknowledge. As I viewed the footage, I thought to myself, wow, this appears dreadful. It seems even more severe than my initial perception. Yet, I subsequently had to pause and reflect on it, coming to a realization. Kerr's meddling has consequences that reach well beyond a mere coaching spat. Here was a coach who had an unparalleled grasp of his players' mental states. Yet he chose to exploit that insight in a manner that would unravel the unity he was meant to safeguard. By pushing Poole to confront Green, fully aware of Green's unpredictable nature and tendency for aggression, Kerr essentially set up the very circumstances that would undermine his team's championship dreams. Adding to the treachery is the timing of his actions. Poole was about to finalize his contract extension, symbolizing the future of the franchise's dual timeline approach. Green found himself engulfed in uncertainty regarding his contract. Kerr must have realized that provoking this conflict during such a sensitive time was like playing with fire. In those initial moments, you feel a surge of anger, which leads to your immediate reaction. So in that brief window, it's all about the frustration, not really processing anything, but the incident itself. The psychological dynamics at play from this new insight paint Kerr as a cunning strategist who knew precisely how to steer both players towards an inevitable clash. He was acutely aware of Green's sensitivities, the ways his authority was tested, inquiries about his significance within the group, and especially any implication that he was merely riding Curry's success. He understood Poole's vulnerabilities, his ambition to earn respect from the veteran players, his need for validation, and his increasing self-assurance as an essential asset to the championship roster. By positioning himself as the supportive voice urging Poole to assert his masculinity, Kerr inadvertently crafted a volatile mix of toxic masculinity and competitive ambition that was destined for catastrophe. Green's reflections on these experiences at ages 33 and 35 indicate that he himself acknowledged the manipulation that led him away from sound judgment. It's certainly not in the realm of those disputes where you return as good friends. This narrative holds more weight than anyone cares to acknowledge. If I were in his shoes and took that action, I would acknowledge my unworthiness to be a ring knight. The most disturbing part of this disclosure is how effortlessly team dynamics can be manipulated by those wielding power. Kerr's choice to support Poole's rebellion wasn't an isolated incident. It was a strategic decision that placed an undisclosed goal above the welfare of his athletes and the unity of his squad. Be it related to contract talks, power plays, or mere folly, the outcome was the insidious dismantling of what might have blossomed into a historic season. As we peel back the layers of this narrative, we'll examine how this pivotal act of control sparked a total collapse of trust, eventually depriving the Warriors of their championship aspirations and irrevocably changing the paths of two rising stars. The punch was merely the opening act. The genuine fallout unfolded in the aftermath. The consequences and Draymond's remorse. The swift repercussions of that pivotal strike uncovered the disastrous extent of Kerr's scheming, turning what was meant to be a championship dynasty into a splintered assembly of bitter individuals struggling to coexist. When the TMZ footage surfaced on October 7, 2022, it revealed not merely an episode of aggression. It unveiled a toxic atmosphere that had long been brewing within Golden State's outwardly flawless culture. The video that rattled the sports universe illustrated far more than just a single blow. It unveiled an utter collapse of the professional decorum and shared respect that previously characterized the Warriors' championship ethos. Draymond Green, the passionate captain and defensive cornerstone of 4 title-winning squads, had devolved into launching punches at a teammate who should have been nurtured instead of assaulted. Jordan Poole, the promising talent symbolizing the franchise's future, found himself crumpled on the gym floor. Both his confidence and trust lay in ruins, taking with them any chance of repairing their professional bond. Trust is key in the essence of our team identity. We need to manage this ourselves, quietly. I never imagined it would remain confidential. Nowadays, nothing stays under wraps. The media finds out everything. What ensued was a lesson in crisis management that ultimately uncovered the extent of the issues plaguing the organization. On October 8th, Green distanced himself from the squad, yet his brief withdrawal seemed less about true accountability and more like a calculated maneuver. The Warriors opted to impose a fine on Green rather than hand him suspension, signaling their true intentions. They prioritized their championship aspirations over safeguarding the mental state of a young player recently attacked by a teammate. The psychological games initiated by Kerr's tactics persisted beyond the incident. Green's public apologies often hinted at a subtle rebellion, implying he believed he was more misunderstood than at fault. His remarks regarding being informed that the world witnessed one of his most challenging episodes highlighted a victim mindset that entirely overlooked the genuine victim present in the locker room, who was still dealing with the shock of being unexpectedly attacked by someone he considered a mentor and ally. To be frank, I was unaware of the extent to which it escalated because I don't typically dive into Instagram or sift through comments. Honestly, I hardly read any tweets at all. The immediate fallout on team dynamics was catastrophic and could not be concealed. Coach Steve Kerr later acknowledged that the event turned their season into an arduous challenge and robbed the team of the joy that had defined their championship successes. The locker room transformed into a battlefield, with every exchange being examined. Each looked scrutinized for any hint of unresolved anger or forced harmony. Poole's reaction to the turmoil showcased a level of maturity and professionalism that made his situation even more heartbreaking. His assertion that "we're here to win a championship" reflected a composure under stress that belied his youth, yet also emphasized the impossible dilemma he faced due to both Kerr's manipulation and Green's aggression. He was expected to simply shake off the trauma of being assaulted and act as if all was well, while collaborating with someone who had proven ready to breach the ultimate boundary when their pride was at stake. The true sorrow of Green's behavior unfolds when we consider his subsequent thoughts on the event. In July 2023, he confessed, "I don't simply strike others." Conversations develop gradually. This admission shows a recognition that his conduct was part of a continuing series of aggressive acts that he permitted to intensify. It was not merely a fleeting error in judgment. It represented the peak of prolonged psychological torment, facilitated by a coaching team that favored victory over fundamental humanity. The most concerning insight into Green's mentality emerged from his astonishment that Pools couldn't simply forget being struck. His remarks about expecting Pools to cope in the same manner, he would reveal a deep-seated ignorance of how individual reactions to trauma and betrayal can vary widely. Green's upbringing, influenced by distinct experiences and methods of coping, had resulted in a lack of awareness that hindered him from seeing the enduring harm his behavior had caused to a younger, more impressionable teammate. I resonate with both of these feelings regarding the situation. Come along with me, Thomas Bayman. As a man, when you realize you've messed up, you need to put in the effort to get back on track, much like working through those videos. The breakdown of reconciliation attempts showed the extent of the trust that had been broken. The fact that Kerr suggested taking Green out for dinner, only for Green to decline, highlighted how the veteran's pride still overshadowed any real wish for mending. This had evolved beyond just a punch. The crux of the issue lay in Green's failure to recognize that his recurring actions had fostered an atmosphere where violence was bound to happen. As the season unfolded, the psychological toll on Pools became more pronounced. His play declined, notwithstanding the sizable contract extension he had just signed, as the ongoing strain and unhealed trauma undermined his self-assurance and synergy with his teammates. He felt alienated, trapped between a coaching staff that had maneuvered him into this predicament, and seasoned players who prioritized shielding their own images over confronting the toxic environment they had contributed to. Ain't no way you're laying a finger on me. This candid element of Green's sorrow unfolded not through his public remarks, but via his private reflections on the toll the incident took on him, both personally and in his career. His confession in June 2024 that failing to celebrate Poole's extension left him feeling miserable highlighted the depth of his realization that his behavior had tainted what should have been a celebratory occasion for the whole team. Green's ongoing apologies, including his January 2025 request for everyone to just let it go, showcased his growing understanding of the lasting harm he caused, not only to Poole, but also to his own reputation. Every apology felt increasingly significant, infused with a deeper sense of regret, as if the truth of his losses was finally breaking through his protective barriers. How did he cultivate it? It was his brother. It's simpler. Yet, the video fails to materialize. The disintegration of the Warriors' championship ethos went beyond merely losing two skilled players unable to coexist. It highlighted a profound failure in leadership across the board, from the manipulative tactics of the coaching staff to Green's aggressive outbursts, culminating in the team's focus on winning at the expense of fundamental human respect. The team's philosophy of unity became a bitter joke as they witnessed their roster shrink due to trade demands and irreparable rifts. The saddest part of this narrative is that it was entirely avoidable. Green's later reflections at ages 33 and 35 indicated that with adequate guidance, he could have cultivated the emotional intelligence to manage conflict without resorting to aggression. Rather than being hindered, he thrived in a system that prioritized his on-court performance over his off-court conduct, ultimately giving rise to a figure who devastated the culture he was supposed to uphold. As the leader of this group, it falls to me to ensure we avoid that path. As the season progressed, our championship aspirations crumbled under the burden of unresolved issues and shattered trust. It became evident that Green's remorse extended beyond the punch. It encompassed the entire sequence of choices that brought him to that point. His increasing awareness of the harm he had caused would eventually spark more sincere efforts to seek reconciliation. Yet by that point, the chance for redemption within the Warriors organization had already vanished, sent to Washington alongside Jordan Poole's dashed aspirations of Bay Area championship triumph. Reactions, careers, and potential reconciliation. The sports community's response to the leaked footage was immediate, harsh, and highlighted profound philosophical divides concerning accountability, leadership, and the acceptable limits of competitive fervor. When the TMZ clips surfaced online, it not only sparked discussions about basketball, but also ignited dialogues about workplace violence, power dynamics, and the toxic masculinity that frequently infects professional sports. Reactions ranged from clear condemnation to unsettling attempts at rationalization, creating a cultural moment that went beyond sports and penetrated the sphere of social discourse. Shannon Sharpe's response to the incident sparked discussions, as many felt disturbed by a veteran attacking a younger player. "Jag mår inte oimit Dorstai." Convey a point, but his approach was misguided. You can't allow anyone to confront you in that manner. Sharpe's observations underscored the differences across generations and cultures in handling disputes, with older commentators usually leaning towards narratives of respect, while younger voices emphasized the evident power dynamics and the implications of workplace violence in the situation. The most unsettling reactions were from those who try to rationalize or downplay Green's conduct, illustrating how violence has become somewhat accepted in certain basketball communities. Remarks implying that the Poole deserved it or that verbal jabs legitimized a physical attack revealed a harmful mindset that viewed young athletes as mere collateral in the quest for competitiveness. Such responses illustrated how the basketball culture fostered a setting where mental and physical mistreatment could be reinterpreted as experienced guidance or a way to harden youthful players. What was the reason for striking him in the eye? The truth remains unclear. Whether he punched him or struck him with a ball, the specifics are muddled. It seems he hit him, he engaged with him, or made sure he realized it. The repercussions on both athletes' careers revealed just how impactful this event was for all participants. For Jordan Poole, the June 2023 trade to Washington signified both a release from past trauma and the shattering conclusion of his championship aspirations. Moving from an ascending talent within a dynasty to a focal point on a team in rebuild mode compelled him to completely reshape his identity as a basketball player, adapting to shoulder a heavier offensive responsibility while navigating the mental scars from his time with the Warriors. Poole's development in Washington showcased extraordinary fortitude and sophistication, consistently posting excellent stats even with the adaptation hurdles. He skillfully compartmentalized personal hardship from his work output, although hints of the event's influence lingered in his exchanges with prior teammates. His tactful answers concerning Green illustrated a player adept at maneuvering through media scrutiny while safeguarding his emotional health. Yet this one's not ideal. With a swollen eye, he may face challenges ahead. Consider this. Upon arriving in the UK, he was unable to immediately adapt as they scrutinized him, and you know what that implies. For Draymond Green, the effects on his career were intricate and ultimately detrimental to his reputation. Although he maintained his role with the Warriors and was still appreciated for his defensive skills, his recurring suspensions and disputes after the Poole situation showcased a person grappling with emotional management and impulse issues. Each new controversy, from the Rudy Gobert chokehold to clashes with peers, seemed tied to the unresolved matters that originally surfaced in his interactions with Poole. The mental burden on Green was clear as he continuously tried to confront the incident anew. His apology in January 2025, following Poole's remarkable 38-point game against the Warriors, seemed to indicate a person still wrestling with remorse, longing for some form of resolution that may always elude him. His call for others to move past the situation reflected more on his desire for absolution than a true comprehension of the enduring effect his behavior had on those around him. It's perplexing. I genuinely have no idea what I'm really capable of. I carry a knife. When I arrived at the ladder from New York, I strolled through the AU Center and a police officer noticed me. I'm wearing my cap, and just like that, I'm walking around. I'm strolling along, you see. I'm about to pass him. He mentioned that he had a conversation with you. The wider NBA community's reaction has highlighted significant splits regarding responsibility and opportunities for redemption in professional sports. Certain seasoned players stood in support of Green, perceiving the backlash against his conduct as assaults on established basketball traditions and the power of veteran status. For many, especially younger athletes and those who had endured similar situations, the event was seen as a crucial turning point, highlighting the urgent need for change in how organizations manage internal disputes and power struggles. The way the Warriors handled the situation afterwards served as an example of poor crisis management. Their inquiry into the video's leak appeared to favor reputation repair over tackling the root causes of the unhealthy atmosphere. By prioritizing the prevention of future leaks over stopping similar disagreements, they conveyed that their public image took precedence over the safety and welfare of the players. Fans took to social media to express their divided opinions about the incident, with posts criticizing Steve Kerr for his role in escalating the confrontation going viral, while others defended Green's behavior as justifiable reactions to being disrespected. The discussion highlighted the disparities between different generations and cultures regarding perceptions of authority, respect, and conflict resolution. It's time to witness the confrontation. You're about to draw Joe's attention. The potential for a mending of ties between Green and Poole has emerged as a captivating subplot in the NBA narrative. The ongoing public apologies hint at a true desire for atonement, while Poole's measured evasion of straightforward answers reveals someone who is still navigating their trauma and shielding their emotional space. The underlying power struggles fueling the initial clash persisted in hindering any possible resolution, as Green's prominent public profile and experience as a veteran grant him leverage that Poole lacks. The effects on the Warriors as a franchise are significant. This episode played a role in their swift playoff departure and compelled them to discard their dual timeline approach that aimed to merge season guidance with emerging talent. The camaraderie that characterized their championship success transformed into a meticulous balancing act of egos and ongoing caution against further conflicts. I'm a fan of the boldness, and I admire his style of play. In those days, showing you were a tough guy meant backing it up. Someone was bound to challenge you. Players like Mahorn established that kind of hard-earned image. Reflecting on the event, it acts as a warning about the lasting repercussions of valuing competitive triumph over personal respect and mental well-being. Both individuals are now working to restore their careers and standing in varied environments. Poole has flourished as a key player in Washington, whereas Green is still dealing with the fallout of his past within the Warriors organization. The possibility of genuine reconciliation hangs in the balance. Green's latest refusals to accept certain elements of the narrative imply he is still evaluating his own involvement in the occurrences, while Poole's emotional detachment portrays a young individual who has acquired the skills to shield himself from further emotional harm. It may be that the truest form of reconciliation lies in a shared recognition that certain scars may never fade completely, and that pursuing separate paths could offer the best resolution for both individuals. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this video engaging, click on one of the options displayed on your screen to explore similar content.